Right, I'm about to tell you about one of the most dangerous, convincing scams ever, where you will pay so much money and get nothing, right? So this is known as Universal Immigration Services Australia and Universal Immigration Services Canada. Australia and Canada, they're both scams, but they're the same company, right? Let's just prove it. So first of all, they've got the same address in Gibraltar, same company as proven, which proves that they've got no kind of affiliation to the country of Australia or Canada. Now I know they might claim, but actually we've got an address in Melbourne, right? That doesn't mean anything, right? I could have an address in Egypt. That doesn't mean I can hand out visas in Egypt. I have an address in my home country. Doesn't mean I can hand out visas in my home country. But let's get into how this scam works so that you don't fall for it. Number one, the false hope. Hidden payments. False hope and no refunds, even if they fail. If you find yourself on their dodgy UISAustralia or UIS Canada website, for example, it looks very official, but it's still very vague. They've whipped this website up within about 2 hours on Wix, right? So you got to look about at what they have to offer, but you need an account, right? And this account does not come without a phone number. So you've got to create an account, and even if you'll never use it again, even if you're just fantasizing, you don't know what you've signed up for. Because now, for the next 4 weeks, you're going to be getting non-stop phone calls off multiple different numbers. Maybe it'll stop for a couple of weeks, then it starts again. There's no way to stop these phone calls. You've got a lot of numbers. Number two, the interview. You'll do an evaluation after you've had a phone call off them. It'll cost 38 quid, right? Now 38 quid, move to a new country and all that. You'll be tricked into paying this, right? They're very convincing. They're very good salesmen. Now, you are meant to upload a CV, but they don't force it upon you. They'll speak a load of rubbish to make it look convincing, even though, like I said, they've whipped this website up within about 2 hours on Wix. You'll smash the test with no proof of who you are, no official documents uploaded. You could have just lied about your name and everything. You know, it's only a phone interview, and then you'll get right to the next payment. You could have never worked in your life. You might have failed all your GCSEs, but you'll still pass. Part 3, the pushy sales. Now here comes a payment that they never told you was coming. A 1.2 grand payment. Now, they failed to mention that the £38 was just for the interview, right? It's an evaluation. It's such a vague term. Because this 1.2 grand, they're clever how they do it, right? If this was the first payment, this big lump sum, you'd be like, nope, it's not happening. But £38, you want something for £38, but it's a payment where you'll do it, you know, you're more likely to do it on a whim. But it's not even the last payment, there's more hidden payments that you have to do. Now, if you reject 1.2 grand, they will actually make you a 20% discount for £900, but what's interesting is that this is actually worth £300. Now, every single sentence once you've paid this 38 quid will lead up to this 1.2 grand.
What's the matter? I forgot to mention that they claim that you should do it quickly because they're going to run out of spots. They were claiming that if you don't do it within 2 or 3 days, you'll lose your spot. We're holding this spot specifically for you for some reason, but then weeks go by and you've not paid it and the spot's still there. Like, you're not going to run out of spots. Companies in Australia aren't going to run out of needing people to be hired. You know, it's ridiculous. They are a sales company. They don't care about you. So they will lie.
Number 4, the hidden payments that come next. Now that you've spent nearly £1.5 grand on this rubbish and acquired nothing, they now need an extra £300, as if you've not spent enough, so you've spent nearly 2 grand at this point. They don't care. Just to send these files to the government. £300 to send a few files to the government. That's right. So you've paid for your visa before they actually know if you're going to get your visa approved or not. So you could have paid 1.2 grand for a visa that you're not actually going to get. Because don't forget, this isn't officially this country. This is an agency. An agency where it's just a daft website made by some guy. Now I asked them about their refund policy just to check, because these are big payments if you're ever going to make them. It doesn't exist. They don't do refunds, right? If you want to prove this is a scam, you know, you don't just want to take my word for it, go to Facebook groups such as Brits Living in Australia or the Canadian Alternative or other Australian and Canada Facebook groups, or even just all over the internet, and you'll see so many people saying it's a scam. They rip you off and you don't get anything for your money. They're not even the best agency. They are not even the best agency. You shouldn't be going through an agency anywhere. Now you can do this big lump sum in installments, right? I mean, it's very friendly. Like this 1.2 grand, you can do it in installments where it's like £450 or £200 first, and you can keep going. You know, but if you only get halfway and you don't pay the full thing, you're not going to get anything for your money, and they're not going to give you your money back. Number 5, living. This is what they do about this. So finding a job and a place to live abroad, very difficult. Look, they're going to make most of the money off unskilled people. Visa scams are all over there. Like, just search up. People make a lot of money off. They claim they can get you a place to live next to where you'll be working. but they have no connections to any employers in Canada or Australia. It'll cost you £600, this is an optional payment, for them to upload your CV that you send them 1,000 times to a load of jobs that you might just hate anyway. As to the place that they'll find for you to actually live, they'll stick you in an Airbnb for a year. That's what they do most of the time. Now this £600 is actually, like I say, optional, unlike the 1.2 grand payment or the £300 payment or the £38 payment. But if you're moving to a country as a young adult, especially if you're unskilled and stuff, you're going to fall for these traps, you're going to feel unconfident. Part 6, refunds. So yeah, I've already touched on this, but they don't offer or give out refunds. Honestly, people don't get refunds off these lot. And this is where they start to stutter if you ask them this over the phone, because even though they'll take your 1.2 grand to try and buy your visa before they know if they can actually get you one, they don't give that money back if they fail. Remember, this is an agency, this is a sales company, not the country's official immigration service. That is not who they are. This dodgy website, it'll take your phone number, your house address, your email address, where you work, and you know nothing about these people. It's very scary, and they do not have good reviews on the internet, besides 1 or 2 that they've written themselves. Part 7, where to buy instead. This is kind of obvious, but go to the official Australian or Canadian government websites instead, where you'll fill out a questionnaire to find out if you're eligible. It won't be over the phone, it's a questionnaire where you tick boxes and write stuff down and all that. No pushy sales, and it's about £900 cheaper as well as being official. Don't go through a sales agency, because these lot, the official immigration services of the actual country, they're not there just to take your money, and they don't want homeless people on their streets, so they're not going to bring people in who will be homeless. You know, they have actually got sections on their site where you can settle down, live in, learn the language, all that kind of stuff. UISAustralia and Canada, the same company that it is, they don't care if you're living in Australia, Canada, England, or 6 foot underground, wherever. They'd happily make £1,000 if it meant you could live in Iraq. The government's website is not something that just pops up on Google because it pays for a sponsorship. It's official, and you know for sure if you're actually going to be living in the country that you hope to be living in. You don't just sink a load of money into something and then find out that your money's gone for nothing. Part 8. So this is the final point I want to make. These are very expensive countries with their own issues, and if you're planning on moving from, say, the United Kingdom, don't. You're throwing everything that you've got away, and you'll have no money after a while anyway. It's cheaper to visit these places for just a month anyway. You'd have more fun like that. You know, you'd actually see stuff and gain stuff, and you wouldn't be throwing everything away. But if you do decide that you want to live in Canada or Australia, wherever that may be, you know, make sure that you go through the official government website. Make sure you have zero doubts. You know, no matter how anyone can make a website look official, make sure you know that you trust these people, because it can actually help you learn the language, get settled. They don't want homeless people on their streets. UISAustralia/Canada doesn't care about anything other than how much money you've got. It's one of the first questions they ask. And also, I want to ask, if you've got any stories, please share them in the comments. If you've got any stories of any kind of agencies that have tricked you or nicked money off you or anything like this, or ripped you off, please let me know. Please share this video, because it could save, who knows, anyone a lot of money. Thank you for watching. See you later.